Hello and welcome back to the Bikers of Africa channel. I am Temba Kumalo, South African superbike racer, here to bring you my MotoGP analysis and takes on what's been going on. And today we're going to be speaking about Honda versus KTM. There's a new pecking order in the MotoGP championship as we've seen develop over the last 10 years. Honda and Yamaha used to rule the roost, dominate the whole show, but Ducati has taken that mantle from Honda. Yamaha is thereabouts at the moment, but Honda and KTM have been struggling. Or say Honda's been struggling for a long time. KTM recently has found itself in poor form. Many talented riders for these brands. Honda with the likes of Luca Marini, Johan Zarco, Joan Mir, the 2020 MotoGP world champion. At KTM side, you've got the superstar phenom up-and-comer Pedro Costa, Brad Binder, KTM's first ever MotoGP race winner, Maverick Vinales, as well as Enea Bastianini, who finished fourth in the championship last season. So I'm going to look at this as basically like a summary of the situation of what's been going on. Honda, as we've seen in the 2025 season, up until round 6, has made a lot of progress from last season. They've been developing the bike a lot, especially since Marc Marquez has left. They've been throwing a lot of new parts at it. And for the first time, it seems like they're making tangible progress. How can we tell that? Joan Mir, I like you looking at specific riders over time as references, as benchmarks of how a manufacturer is doing. Joan Mir last year was slow and crashing all the time. I don't even know how many times he crashed. I know it was more than 20, but whenever that crash little graphic pops up on the screen, subconsciously your brain is waiting to see number 36, Joan Mir. So he's still falling this season. However, instead of falling out of 15th place, he tends to be falling from inside the top 10. So it's clear that Honda has made progress. We, of course, saw Johan Zarco win the French GP for the LCR Honda team, home win for the Frenchman. It was a wet race, of course. It was a flag to flag. However, he was one of the few riders who didn't do a bike swap. But what was key in that race is that after Marc Marquez had made his pit stop to go from slicks to wets, he came out in second place. Johan Zarco was leading, and Marc Marquez himself admitted that Zarco was faster than me. I pushed for 2 laps to try to catch him. I couldn't catch him, and I had to let him go. And at no point anywhere in the last 2 seasons, that's 23 and 24, 23 when Marc Marquez was there, and 2024, Honda's first season without him, there's no point in either of those seasons where you could look at and say the bike has the potential to win races. Like in any circumstance, it wasn't working because Marc Marquez was riding the thing and he couldn't even get it to win. Alex Rins won at Kota, but that was not a fluke. It was just an abnormal set of circumstances. It was out of the blue and he never won again on the bike up until it broke his leg. So the Honda now has race winning potential if circumstances allow it. Luca Marini, Johan Zarco have overall been doing better. Johan Zarco is in the top 6 in the championship, which is a really commendable achievement. And Honda's on the upwards trajectory. Now, looking at KTM, as I said, they've got that superstar lineup of 4 of some of the best riders on the MotoGP grid. KTM, of course, we know has been having financial struggles. That is a video for another day. I'm not going to go into detail into that, but they do have an upcoming deadline. I'll just mention this as a quick fact because I do find it quite interesting. But on the 25th of May, KTM has a deadline upcoming where they have to pay 600 million euros to their creditors, which is roughly 30% of their total debt, which is in excess of 2 billion euros. Crazy numbers, right? So we have seen KTM, since the financial issues have come to light, they have been struggling. I think there's issues with development. I mean, naturally, what would you expect? So they are having issues with development. We have seen Maverick Vinales, a man renewed the season, second place at Qatar, however, disqualified due to tire pressure penalties. Maverick has been the standout KTM rider. Brad Binder, of course, I'm going to speak about Brad Binder. I am a South African MotoGP fan. Brad has been struggling. I can't remember a time in Brad's MotoGP career where he has struggled like this. I believe it was the Qatar race, which he said was his worst race weekend of his career that he can recall. So we've seen Brad struggling. We've seen Enea Bastianini struggling really badly, but he, of course, is still adapting to the KTM from the Ducati. And Pedro Costa has been somewhere in the middle between really, really bad with Enea and really, really good with Maverick. Pedro's been somewhere in the middle. He's been quick at times. He's crashed at times. Le Mans was crazy in the sprint race where he fought race long with Maverick Vinales for P5. He actually held on to the P5, managed to keep Maverick behind. And then when he goes to crash in the last corner on the last lap of the race. So I think at the moment, if I had to pick a team to be in, I would want to be at Honda. Pedro Costa, Jorge Martin are rumored to being pursued by Honda, and they are obviously considering it. And it's clear that Honda does have something that's growing. And of course, guys, a really, really big factor that we have to keep into account is that in 2027, the MotoGP regulations change from 1000cc to 850cc. So whenever riders are choosing which manufacturer they want to partner with and be associated with, they are looking at who they think is going to hit the ground running with the best 850cc bike. It's going to be a clean slate, guys. New tires, Pirellis, changing from Michelin's to Pirellis, and completely new bikes. So the Ducati dominance may not continue. I anticipate they'll be competitive, but we could arrive at round one of the 2027 season and Pirelli has the best bike, or Honda, or Yamaha, or KTM. So with the fact that the 1000cc's are being phased out, it's also difficult for Honda and KTM because how much do you invest in your 1000cc bike when we also need to start developing an 850cc? So at the moment in the Honda versus KTM head-to-head, I think Honda's coming out on top. Honda's making progress. Honda's in a position to win races at the moment. KTM could do it if circumstances allowed with Maverick Vinales at the moment as it seems. But of course, we know Brad Binder, Pedro Costa, and Bastianini are all top-class riders. They're all race winners except for Pedro Costa, but you know that is coming for him in the future. And I don't know where KTM goes. Once they get a handle of the financial affairs that need to be sorted, I think we'll then have a clear idea of what they can do in the future. Will KTM still be in MotoGP in 2026 and 2027? We don't know. Let us know what you think in the comments. We will be here to document it, to give you our insights, input, and analysis. Thank you for joining us on this video. I've been Tema Kumalo with another MotoGP hot take on Bikers of Africa. Thank you. Goodbye.